In the quiet village of Yulo, where the sun kissed the earth with warmth and the winds carried whispers of ancient tales, there lived a young woman named Enene. Her story is not one of joy or triumph, but of desperation, betrayal, and the dark choices that can haunt a soul forever. But tell me, my friends, what would drive a woman to use something as unthinkable as her own pubic hair to cook food? What kind of desperation could lead her down such a path? This is the haunting tale of Enene, a woman whose hunger for survival led her to a crossroads where no choice was without consequence. But before we begin, let me ask you this: how far would you go to escape the shadow of your past? Would you risk your soul for success? Would you trade your future for fleeting fame? Stay with me, for this story is not just about Enene, it is about the choices we make when the world turns its back on us. It is about the price of betrayal, the law of witchcraft, and the ultimate cost of greed. So, sit close and listen well, for the tale of Enene is not one to be taken lightly. It is a story that will chill your bones and stir your heart. And as you listen, ask yourself, what would you have done in her place? Would you have chosen differently? Let us begin. In the heart of the land, where the trees stood tall and the rivers sang songs of old, there was a village called Yulo. Yulo was a place where the people lived as one, bound by their traditions, their superstitions, and the stories passed down from their ancestors. It was a village where every face was familiar, every voice was known, and every secret was whispered to the wind. The people of Yulo believed in the unseen forces that walked among them, forces that could bless or curse, heal or destroy. And so, they lived cautiously, always watching, always listening, always ready to cast blame when misfortune struck. In this village lived a woman named Ada, a widow whose hands were blessed with the gift of cooking. Her food was a delight to the tongue, a comfort to the soul, and a reason for the villagers to gather and share laughter. Ada was a kind woman, one who carried the weight of her struggles with quiet strength. She had lost her husband while she was heavy with child, and though her heart was broken, she found purpose in raising her daughter, Enene. The villagers admired her resilience, for she worked tirelessly to provide for her child, never once complaining, never once asking for help. To them, Ada was a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the face of loss, life could go on. But life in Yulo was not without its shadows. One fateful day, a young man fell ill and died after eating Ada's food. The whispers began almost immediately. "Poison," they said. "She has killed him." The villagers, bound by their fear and their superstitions, turned on Ada with a fury that could not be stopped. They did not ask questions. They did not seek the truth. They stoned her to death, leaving her daughter, Enene, to face the world alone. Enene, just a child, was taken in by her uncle, a man with a kind heart and a strong sense of duty. He raised her as his own, giving her the love and care she had lost. But the shadow of her mother's death lingered over her, a stain that could not be washed away. The villagers never forgot, and neither did Enene. Now, my friends, let me ask you this: do you think Ada was truly guilty, or was there more to the story? Could it be that the truth was hidden, buried beneath fear and lies? Stay with me, for the answers lie ahead, and the tale of Enene is far from over. Years passed, and the little girl who had once clung to her mother's skirts grew into a woman. Enene, now strong and determined, carried the weight of her mother's memory like a heavy stone in her heart. Though her uncle, had raised her with love and care, the whispers of the past never truly faded. The name Ada still lingered in the air of Yulo, spoken in hushed tones, always with suspicion, always with judgment. But Enene was not one to be broken by the shadows of her past. She returned to Yulo, her mother's village, with a dream to rebuild her life and honor her mother's legacy by doing what Ada had loved most, cooking. But the people of Yulo had long memories. To them, Enene was not just a woman trying to make a living, she was the daughter of Ada, the woman they believed had poisoned one of their own. When Enene set up her small food stall in the village square, the villagers avoided her like a cursed tree. They whispered behind her back, their eyes filled with mistrust. Days turned into weeks, and Enene's pots remained full, her earnings barely enough to buy the next day's ingredients. Her heart grew heavy with despair, for no matter how hard she tried, the villagers would not forget. They would not forgive. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows stretched long across the land, Enene sat alone by her empty store. Her hands trembled as she counted the few coins she had earned that day. It was then that she heard a voice, soft and low, like the rustling of leaves in the wind. She looked up and saw a figure standing at the edge of the square, cloaked in darkness. The woman's face was hidden, but her presence was undeniable. She stepped closer, her voice smooth and knowing. "You are struggling, child," the woman said. "But I can help you." Enene felt a chill run through her body, but desperation silenced her fear. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman smiled, her teeth glinting in the dim light. "I am someone who knows the truth about your mother," she said. Ada was not guilty. She was framed by those who walk in the shadows, those who sought to punish her for refusing to join them. Enene's heart raced. Could it be true? Could her mother have been innocent all along? The woman leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You are not like your mother, are you? You are willing to do what it takes to survive." The woman revealed her offer, a dark solution to Enene's problems. She handed Enene a small pouch filled with a black, sticky substance and told her to mix it with her food. "And one more thing," the woman said, her voice sharp and commanding. "You must add a piece of yourself, your pubic hair. It will bind the magic to you, and the people will come. They will eat, and they will not stop." Enene recoiled at the thought, but the woman's words echoed in her mind. "Do this, and you will have everything you desire. Refuse, and you will remain in the dust, forgotten and alone." Enene sat in silence, the pouch heavy in her hands. Her mind raced with fear, doubt, and the memory of her mother's fate. But desperation is a powerful force, and in that moment, Enene made her choice. She nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I will do it." The woman smiled, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "Good," she said. "But remember, child, every gift has a price. What would you have done in Enene's place? Would you have made the same choice, or would you have walked away? Let us know your thoughts, for the story of Enene is far from over." The morning after Enene made her fateful decision, the village of Yulo awoke to the aroma of something extraordinary. The scent of her cooking drifted through the air like a spell, weaving its way into every home, every corner, every heart. It was as if the food itself called out to the people, whispering promises of flavors they had never known. At first, the villagers hesitated, their memories of Ada's past still fresh in their minds. But hunger and curiosity are powerful forces, and one by one, they came to Enene's store. The first bite was all it took. The villagers' eyes widened, their faces lit with wonder. "This is the best food I have ever tasted," they said. Word spread quickly, faster than the wind that carried the scent of her cooking. Soon, people from neighboring villages began to arrive, drawn by the tales of Enene's magical meals. Her once empty store became the busiest spot in Yulo, and her pots, which had once remained full, were now emptied before the sun could set. With her newfound success came wealth and fame. Enene, who had once counted her coins with trembling hands, now held more money than she had ever dreamed of. She bought new clothes, adorned herself with jewelry, and even began to rebuild her mother's old home. The villagers, who had once avoided her, now sang her praises. "Enene is a gift to this village," they said. "Her food is a blessing." But behind Enene's smile was a heart weighed down by guilt. She knew the secret of her success, and it haunted her. Each time she prepared her meals, she felt the weight of the witch's words, "Every gift has a price." And then, one night, As the moon hung low and the village lay quiet, the witch returned. She appeared in the shadows, her voice as smooth and cold as the night air. "You have done well, child," she said, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "But now, it is time for you to pay the price." Enene's heart raced. "What do you mean?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. The witch stepped closer, her presence heavy and unyielding. "Your womb," she said. "That is the price. Give it to me, and your success will continue. Refuse, and you will lose everything." Enene's mind was a storm of fear and anger. Her womb. The very essence of her future, the part of her that held the promise of life. She could not give it up. "No," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "I will not give you my womb." The witch's smile faded, replaced by a look of cold fury. "You are making a mistake," she said. "Without me, you are nothing. Remember that." And with that, she disappeared into the night, leaving Enene alone with her thoughts. The days that followed were filled with unease. Though Enene continued to cook and sell her food, she could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The villagers, too, began to grow suspicious. How had Enene, the daughter of a woman they had condemned, risen to such heights? How had her food become so irresistible, so otherworldly? Whispers began to spread, just as they had in her mother's time. "There is something unnatural about her success," they said. "Something we cannot see." The whispers in Yulo grew louder with each passing day. The villagers, once enchanted by Enene's food, began to question the source of her sudden success. How could a woman who had struggled for so long rise so quickly? How could her meals, though delicious, hold such an irresistible power? Suspicion, like a seed planted in fertile soil, began to grow. And as it grew, it saw the light of truth. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the village prepared for rest, a man named Obina, known for his sharp eyes and sharper tongue, decided to uncover the mystery. Obina had always been wary of Nene, and his curiosity had turned into an obsession. That night, he crept to the back of Enene's home, where the scent of her cooking lingered in the air. Hidden in the shadows, he watched as Enene prepared her meals. What he saw made his blood run cold. Obina's eyes widened as he saw Enene reach into a small pouch and pull out strands of hair, her own pubic hair. He watched in horror as she mixed it with a dark, sticky substance before adding it to her pot. The realization struck him like a thunderclap. This was no ordinary cooking. This was witchcraft. Without waiting another moment, Obina ran to the village square, his voice cutting through the stillness of the night. Come and see what Enene has been doing," he cried. The villagers, startled from their rest, gathered quickly, their faces filled with confusion and fear. Obina led them to Enene's home, where he demanded she show them her cooking. Enene, caught off guard, tried to deny his accusations, but the villagers would not be swayed. They stormed into her kitchen, overturning pots and searching for evidence. And there, in the corner, they found the pouch given to her by the witch. The air grew heavy with silence as the truth settled over them. Enene had betrayed them. She had used dark magic to deceive them, to make them eat what no human should ever consume. The villagers' outrage was swift and unforgiving. "You are no better than your mother," they shouted. "You have brought shame to this village." Their voices rose like a storm, demanding justice for the betrayal they felt. Enene, trembling and cornered, could only plead for mercy. But mercy was not theirs to give. The elders, seeking guidance, called upon the oracle, the ancient voice of wisdom that had guided Yulo for generations. The oracle, its voice deep and resonant, spoke with authority. "Enene," it said, "you have walked a dark path, one that has brought harm to yourself and to others. But the choice before you is not mine to make. It is yours. You must decide, will you give your womb to the witches, as they demand, and continue to live? Or will you refuse and face the punishment of death? The villagers held their breath, their eyes fixed on Enine. The weight of the decision pressed down on her like a mountain. Her womb, the very essence of her future, the hope of bearing children, was the price of her life. But to refuse would mean the end of everything. Tears streamed down Enine's face as she wrestled with the choice. Her dreams, her future, her very identity hung in the balance. Finally, with a voice heavy with sorrow, she spoke. "I choose life," she said. "But I will never forgive myself for what I have done." The oracle nodded solemnly. "So it shall be," it said. "But know this, your life in Yulo is over. You are banished from this village, never to return, and you are forbidden to sell food again." The villagers watched in silence as Enine gathered her belongings and walked away from the only home she had ever known. Her head was bowed, her heart shattered, and her dreams left behind in the dust of Yulo. The people, though angry, could not help but feel a pang of sorrow as they watched her go. For Enine's story was not just one of betrayal, it was a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of desperation and the cost of choices made in the dark. And so, Enine left the village of Yulo, her head bowed low, her heart heavy with regret. The path before her was long and uncertain, but the path behind her was closed forever. The villagers watched in silence as she disappeared into the horizon, her once bright dreams now scattered like ashes in the wind. The woman who had returned to Yulo with hope and determination was now living with nothing but the weight of her choices. Her hands, once busy with the joy of cooking, now hung limp at her sides, empty of purpose, empty of pride. As she walked, the memories of her life in Yulo played in her mind like a haunting melody. She thought of her mother, Ada, who had faced the wrath of the same villagers. She thought of the witch, whose promises had seemed like salvation but had only led her deeper into despair. And she thought of herself, a woman who had wanted nothing more than to rebuild her life, only to see it crumble under the weight of her decisions. Enine's story was not just her own, it was the story of desperation, of the lengths to which a person will go when the world turns its back on them. But, my friends, let us not judge Enine too harshly. For who among us has not faced moments of weakness? Who among us has not been tempted by the promise of an easier path? Enine's tale is a reminder of the dangers of desperation, the cost of greed, and the consequences of betrayal. It teaches us that success gained through dark means is never truly success, it is a burden, a curse that will follow us wherever we go. And so, the name of Enine became a story told around the fires of Yulo, a cautionary tale passed down from one generation to the next. The villagers, though angry, could not forget the lesson her life had taught them. They spoke of her with a mix of sorrow and warning, for her story was not just about her, it was about all of us, about the choices we make and the prices we pay. Now, my friends, I leave you with this question: what do you take from Enine's story? Do you see her as a victim of circumstance, or as someone who made her own fate? Share your thoughts, for the lessons of the past are meant to guide us in the present. And if you found this tale as thought-provoking as I did, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us keep the stories of our ancestors alive, for they hold the wisdom of ages. Until next time, may your choices be wise, and may your paths be free of shadows.